Hey guys, I am Alex, and on this video I'm gonna give you a complete tour of the Rove R3 menu, as well as share with you my personally recommended settings for this. That way you can get the most out of it. Now, I previously reviewed this dashcam on the channel. If you guys want to check that video out, I'll put a link to it in the description down below, along with a link to this dashcam in case you'd like to get one for yourself. But with that being said, let's get started. And to access the dashcam settings, I'm gonna tap on the screen and then I'm gonna tap this little gear icon. And the settings menu has been divided into video setting and system setting. On video setting, we have video resolution. And here's where we can select which cameras we want enable. We can select for all three cameras to be enabled, or just the front or the cabin, or just the front or the rear, or just the front. And under each one, there is different resolution settings. By the way, you'll also see this little eye, and that is a little help guide. If for some reason you want to know about the menu that you're currently looking at, just tap that eye and it'll give you additional information. The highest resolution for all three is the very first one, which is 1440 by 1080p by 1080p. However, you could choose a different lower resolution. Also notice that you could go as low as 720 for all three of them. Now, why would you want to lower your resolution? Well, if you wanted to fit more on the memory card. However, I prefer to run this at its highest resolution. And the same customization is available for front and cabin. Again, you have the ability to select what resolutions you want to run. However, notice that if you choose to run less than 3 cameras, for example here, if we only run 2 cameras, now we are given the option to go higher. Notice that the resolution for the front can now be set to 2160 by 1080 for the cabin. So you do get additional resolution as you begin to disable certain cameras. In case you don't need the cabin and you prefer more front resolution, you can certainly do that. Including if you only want the front camera to record, now you get very high resolution options. You can have the front camera record at 3840 by 2160. And the next setting is gonna be loop recording. Dashcams segment the video that they record into smaller chunks of video, and here you can select how long those clips of video to be. You can have them to be very small clips of 1 minute duration, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, or you can have this setting as off. Now, if you select off, the dashcam is gonna record without segmenting the videos, so you'll end up with one long continuous video up to a maximum length of 20 minutes. I do not recommend you enable that because once the memory card gets full, that's it, the dashcam will stop recording. I will recommend that you select one of the options between the 1 minute all the way up to 10 minutes. That way the dashcam can continuously record, erasing the old video clips and replacing it with brand new fresh video. The next option is gonna be the infrared LEDs, and this applies to the cabin night vision because it allows it to record in complete darkness, and you can have the dashcam turn those on automatically, or you can select for them to be always on or always off. I prefer the automatic option. And the next option is the G sensor, which is what it allows this dashcam to detect when you get into a car crash, so it can flag the video and you can find it a lot easier on the future. Notice that you are able to customize it in terms of how sensitive you want this sensor to be to detect that you got into a car crash. And you can go as high as 9, or you can have it as low as 1. Now, what's interesting is that if you put it at 1, that means that the dashcam is gonna be very sensitive. Any low impact can potentially confuse the dashcam, making it think that you got into a car crash. If you set it at high, which is number 9, then it's gonna take a very large impact for your dashcam to think that you got into a car crash. However, I recommend that you experiment with your vehicle. Some vehicles, because of a harsher suspension, might perform better with a less sensitive setting, and some vehicles that are very soft and very gentle might perform better with a lower setting where a gentle nudge or a gentle impact will trigger the dashcam. You could also set it to off. If you set it to off, the dashcam will not be able to detect when you get into a car crash, so the video won't be flagged. You'll still have video of the incident, but you're gonna have to go and find it in the dashcam, and the video could also be overwritten by the dashcam if you don't download it to your computer. So this is why I recommend that the G sensor be left on, so the video can be protected. And again, you wanna select between 1 all the way up to number 9. So far for myself, number 5 seems to work out best. Moving over to the next page of settings, we have audio recording. And here you can tell the dashcam whether you want audio to be recorded along with video or if you just want video to be recorded with no audio. And if the dashcam was hardwired, we get 2 options for parking mode. We get collision detection or time-lapse plus collision detection. In the collision detection mode, the dashcam is gonna turn on after the car is impacted. It is gonna record video and then it's gonna turn back off. On the time-lapse plus collision detection mode, the dashcam is gonna record a time lapse while the car is parked. And then if it senses a collision, it's gonna turn on and record normal video and then return to a time-lapse function. And the parking mode G sensor can also be adjusted with the setting, and this is what allows the dashcam to detect that an impact has taken place when the car is parked. And again, you are given the choice of having this be triggered by any little small impact, or you can have it so the dashcam is only triggered when a high impact has taken place. So experiment, and depending on how many false alerts you want to see, you can select the right number that works best for you and your vehicle. Next up is parking mode timeout, and this is very important because here you can control how long you want the dashcam to be monitoring your car when the car is parked, and this is going to reduce the amount of battery that is going to be used from your vehicle. Notice that you can have this as long as 12 hours or monitoring, or you can have it as low as 1 or just turn off the parking mode. Moving over to the next section, you have exposure. If you find that any of the cameras are either too bright or too dark in terms of the video being recorded, you can adjust the video. For example, if the front camera I find that is too bright, I can begin to lower the brightness. Notice how it says minus, -1, -3, and I could go as low as -2. If I found that the front camera was showing video that was too dark, I can bump up the brightness as high as +2.2. However, I prefer to leave it in auto. I think this setting works best. Now you can do the same adjustment for the cabin camera and the rear camera, but as you can see, I leave all 3 of them on auto. Next up is wide dynamic range, and this allows this dashcam to record better video when there are bright lights in the recording, especially if it's at night. So I recommend leaving this setting on to get the best video quality. Next up is license plate. And here you can enter your license plate so it can be included in the video as a watermark. Now, if you don't want your license plate to be recorded on the video, you can also leave it blank like this and it won't show up. Next up is stamp. And this is the information that is going to be shown on every video as a watermark. And you are able to customize what you want to have on that video or not. You can select to have the date and time, GPS coordinates, the driving speed, license plate, and a Rove logo. Moving over to the next page of settings, we have time lapse. The dashcam is normally going to record normal video. However, you are able to switch from normal video to time lapse, which allows it to compress many hours of video into a smaller time lapse. Normally, I do not recommend that you enable this. I prefer normal video for driving recording. However, if you wanted to have a scenic drive be recorded, you can potentially enable this and capture a time lapse. Next up is video compression, and this is going to matter when you try to pull the videos out from the dashcam and play them back on your computer or your phone. You have 2 choices, H.265 or H.264. If you have an older phone or older computer, I recommend leaving it on H.264. That way the video is going to play fine. However, if you have a newer computer or newer phone, you want to select H.265. And the advantage of having H.265 is that the videos are going to take less space. So that means that you can potentially record more on the memory card. Next up is the speed unit, and here you can select between kilometers per hour or miles per hour. And moving on to the next section, we have distortion correction. And what this does, this reduces the fish-eye effect, or what some people call the GoPro look. However, I don't really see too much distortion on the video, so I haven't found a need to turn this on. I would recommend experimenting with the setting to see if you like it. I prefer it to have off, no distortion correction. Next up is live speed and compass. Now this allows you to turn off the live speed that is shown when you are driving on the dash cam. Now remember, the speed is gonna be still recorded on the video. This just turns it off in the display. So if you wanna have the speed not shown on the video that's recorded, remember that's under stamp. And finally, you have rotate display. If for some reason you mount the dashcam upside down, you can correct for that by selecting rotate. Notice that it's upside down. However, if I mounted the dashcam upside down, this would have fixed that issue. And you can do the same thing for the rear. For example, in the rear, you can also flip the camera to correct for the camera having been installed upside down. Next up is system setting, and we have Wi-Fi. And here you can select for the Wi-Fi to be off all the time, only on once. Basically, when you turn off the car and turn it on again, the Wi-Fi is gonna be off, or you can have it always on. If you don't plan to use the app, I will leave the Wi-Fi off. Next up is Wi-Fi mode, where you have two choices, 5 GHz or 2.4 GHz. Now, if you have an older phone, I suggest selecting this. You can still access the dashcam and download all the files and settings via the app. However, if you have a newer phone, I recommend switching over to 5 GHz. It is gonna run faster and you can potentially download the videos from the dashcam faster by using 5 GHz over 2.4 GHz. Next up is formatting the memory card. Now, if you wanted to delete all the videos at once, you can select format and it's gonna blank out all the videos. And also you wanna use this function every time a brand new memory card has been installed on the dashcam. Next up is time zone. This dashcam is gonna pull the date and time information from the GPS, so if you don't set the time zone correctly, you could potentially end up with the wrong date or time on your dashcam. And you can also manually adjust the date and manually adjust the time. However, if you're gonna do that manual adjustment, you're gonna have to turn off the time zone. If you don't turn off the time zone and then you change the date and the time, the dashcam is always gonna overwrite those information that you just entered, and it's gonna use the time zone. You could also customize the date format, and here it's just gonna be a matter of preference how you want that to be displayed. Next up is time, which as mentioned earlier, if you are gonna manually set the time, make sure you turn off the time zone. You could also adjust the time format between 12 hours and 24 hours. Basically, if you like AM or PM, you can use 12 hours, and if you prefer military time, you can switch it to 24 hours. Next up is screensaver, and here you can select for the screen to be on all the time and the dashcam continues recording, or you can have the screen turn off and show us a screensaver instead. The dashcam continues to record, and here's what the screensaver looks like. It's basically just minimal information. Or if you wanted to have the display turn off completely, you can select for that, and the dashcam is gonna continue to record in what I call stealth recording. And the screen brightness can also be adjusted between high, medium, or low, which can be helpful if the brightness bothers you at night. However, I leave mine on high all the time. The speaker volume can also be adjusted between low, medium, or high, and you can also enable a touch tone. And what this does, it just gives you a beep every time you tap on the screen. Next up is voice guidance, and that is because this dashcam is able to speak to you, and you might have already heard that when it switched over from one screen to another, and it can also give you additional warnings via voice. Now, Rove recommends that you leave this on. However, you can turn that off if you don't want to have the dashcam talk to you. Moving over to the next special settings, we have boot up tone. And what this is the sound that you hear when the dashcam turns on and the sound that the dashcam makes when it turns off. If you don't want to have those sounds enabled, you can turn them off. Next up is frequency. And here you want to select 60 Hz if you are in North America or 50 Hz if you are in Europe. And what this does, this is going to reduce any kind of flickering on the video that is being recorded. TV mode is going to be quite similar. This allows you to select the setting based on where you live. If you intend of playing back these videos on a PAL TV, basically if you are in Europe, you want to select PAL. But if you are in North America, you want to leave that as NTSC. Moving over to the next section, we have GPS. And here you are able to turn off the GPS settings completely. And this is going to apply to the entire dashcam. So no more coordinates, no more speed being recorded on the video or shown on the screen. So you want to leave this on if you want to have any kind of GPS functionality, and if you don't want to have any kind of GPS traceability, you can turn this off. Next up is storage space, where you can see the size of the memory card that's installed and also information about how much video you have recorded on it. And if for some reason you wanted to return this dashcam to its factory settings, you can select the default setting and the dashcam is gonna behave just like when it was brand new. And finally, we have system info, customer care, and legal, and all three of them are just information. There's nothing to change inside of them. However, system info could potentially be helpful if you wanted to see what software you're currently running on your Rove dashcam. So remember, I put a link in the description down below to this dashcam in case you want to get one for yourself, including a link to the full review in case you wanted to see the rest of its features. If you found any part of this video helpful, make sure you hit the like button to support the channel and stay tuned as I have a lot more dashcam reviews coming up. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, I'll see you on the next one.